Frank Castle. He's a lot scarier than Pete. Yeah, sweetheart. I guess he is. Welcome to the Pixel Pop Movie Podcast. My name is Toby. This week I'm joined by Ethan.
Oh, hey bro.
Hey bro, sure bro. Piss off, Ghost. And I'm joined by Lin.
Hey!
Hey! We will be joined by Lucas a little later. We've realised that sort of having four people talking over the top of each other instead of three is a little too much. So there's a little bit of chopping and changing where we'll have some people go for some parts and others come in for others. So we're going to do some news like we do every fortnight, and then our topic of conversation will be the Justice League movie. There will be some non-spoiler chat, and then we'll have a warning and we'll go into spoiler chat, and then we're going to do the same for Punisher after that. So before we get into those subjects though, we've got a bit of news this fortnight, not a huge amount, but Ethan, please take us away.
The first bit of news is that Jake Gyllenhaal is being eyed to take over the role of that Ben Affleck currently plays as Batman, because Ben Affleck has been a little bit undecided as to whether or not he wants to keep playing Batman or not since Batman vs Superman came out, and even during the press conferences for Justice League, he still will not confirm if he will be Batman again or not.
Okay, that's a little sad. I would have liked to see a more of a completion of his story arc and maybe a solo film.
Yeah, so would I, but
I know he got a lot of shit when he sort of put his hand up for the piece and people were like, but I think he did quite well. I mean, I haven't seen Justice League, but I enjoyed him in Batman v Superman, and yeah, I mean, it was nice to see an older, sort of more battle-weary Batman, so that's sad.
Oh, definitely,
but I think
yeah.
Jake, look, you know, I mean, he'll probably be more of the younger Batman, but he could probably do the part fairly well, I guess. What do you think, Lynn?
I'm excited about it, not because I'm particularly excited about Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's a good enough actor. I just don't have strong opinion about him either way. Because I don't mind Ben Affleck. I think he did a great job as this Batman. It's just this Batman is not the Batman I want. So to me, I am excited about
the one you deserve.
No, that was Christopher. What's his face?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about the opportunity that come with casting a new Batman, especially a younger one.
If they cast a new Batman, though, they need to give him a story arc. I mean, as I said, like with Affleck coming in, not doing a solo film and getting out, like I just never really got to know him. So if they're gonna bring Jake in, like, please, like, get the guy to sign a 3-movie freaking contract or something and give him
3, do it 9 like Marvel does.
But the point is, like, give us enough of him that we can appreciate it and get a feel for the character, I guess.
Kidnap their family.
Okay then, quietly moving along to Star Wars. Someone watched too much Punisher. Wow. Okay.
So it was recently, when Colin Trevorrow left directing episode 9, everyone thought that Rian Johnson, who currently directs episode 8 of Star Wars, would take over, but no, it was J.J. Abrams. And the reason for that is Rian Johnson is developing a whole new trilogy of Star Wars movies set with entirely new characters in a different corner of the universe, not currently tied to what's going on right now.
Right. Is this to be set after, or is this meant to be set during?
They haven't said.
They haven't said. A lot of people are thinking.
So it's not even necessarily episode, like, whatever it is, 10, 11, 12 or whatever.
No,
it's definitely not 10, 11, 12.
No.
As far as we know, 10, 11, 12 is still happening, but this is separate.
Right, so this will be the adventures of Jar Jar Binks, as Lynn said.
A lot of people are thinking it could be a Knights of the Old Republic series. That's what's going around at the moment.
Hoping.
That would be interesting. Yeah, they're hoping. That would be interesting, because that's like 10,000 years or something earlier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only are they doing a new series of movies.
I know what it is. It's a trilogy of Christmas specials.
Oh, God.
On Kashyyyk.
Oh, man.
Chewbacca's uncle watching porn.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Not only did they announce a new trilogy, but along with Disney's new streaming service, which will launch in 2019, they're also doing a new live-action Star Wars TV show, which will air on their streaming service too.
I guess while we're talking Star Wars and Disney too, we should probably mention a touch upon there was an American cinema, I believe, that's refusing to show the new film coming out next month. In Iowa or something, yeah, like, because Disney are like, you must show the film for this long, it must be on the bigger screen, like there's all these Disney are really sort of laying down a law with how you have to display this film. And
they don't want to follow it.
They just won't do it, and I think it's like from a sort of a smaller community or whatever have you. And I know if you recall there was that controversy not long ago too about Disney saying you had to charge this much for ticket prices and so forth.
Yeah,
I think that was even happening here in Australia where there was that
could have been, yeah.
It was like we're not going to do that. So
yeah, with the South Bank Cinema as well.
Yeah, so Disney's definitely flexing its muscles with the Star Wars IP, and to just dive off movies for half a second, the recent controversy with Electronic Arts, their new game Battlefront 2, which was going to feature a whole bunch of in-app purchases, which suddenly didn't. Word is that was Disney really squeezing EA, and there's further rumor that they might be looking to pull the contract or whatever off EA for the rights to Star Wars.
Yeah, has a very big contract.
So like Disney's not fucking around.
No.
But it scares me a little bit because this is a big company with a lot of power, and they're really, telling cinemas what they have to do seems a little not good in my opinion.
The
fascist.
Yeah.
The relationship between cinemas and producers and distributors has always been a contentious one, though. And I think it's hard to side with one or the other because certain cinemas also tend to jerk around smaller movies as well. So it's kind of depending on who have the power in that particular relationship at that point, right? Clearly, Disney have more powers than any cinema you can name.
Yeah.
So
and they're looking, and they've been talking with Fox to sort of buy up some of their assets as well.
So that's another bit of news. Fox is in talks with Disney, Sony, Verizon, and Comcast. I just learned are all in talks with Fox to buy some of their properties.
Is this because Fox is streamlining, or are they in financial difficulty? Do we know?
I'm not sure.
Because I had heard that Fox was more interested in focusing on sports, which is making them a lot of money, mind you, and a few other things and we're sort of losing interest in some of these other sort of properties. But I don't know if they're... I mean, I haven't heard of them having any financial problems. You wouldn't think, but who knows?
But of course, we all want Disney to take the rights from Fox, because that means we could finally get all the MCU and the X-Men characters finally be in the MCU.
Sure.
That's what we want.
I mean, if Sony gets it, then you could start doing Fantastic Four with Spider-Man. Sorry, yeah. It's.
But you can still get Fantastic Four with Spider-Man if Disney gets it.
Yeah, you can still get that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean,
I kind of don't want Sony to get it because they're just gonna announce 7 spin-off movies about some weird X-Men character. A movie about Toad!
Having said that too, you've got Disney that are about to launch their own streaming service as well. So I mean, they're probably looking to buy up stuff that they can put on that streaming service. That's sort of
it's all the Fox movies and TV shows and everything like that they'll be able to put on there.
That thing is gonna. I mean, let's be honest. I'm signing up for Disney streaming day one, right? I mean, we all are, aren't we? They've already said it's gonna be half the price of fucking everything else. It's going to be cheaper than Netflix.
That's currently part of the reason why Futurama and that are leaving Netflix, because of the Disney one.
Yeah,
and Fox.
It's going to be huge. But at the same time, it worries me because, it's like when Microsoft started owning everything. As much as it's good for us to some degree, eventually, if Disney gets too big, then they have complete monopoly, and then it's not necessarily good anymore. So,
want to hear my tinfoil theory?
Go for it.
I think the timing of this Disney thing is just the right time. I think this is their Marvel Phase 4 gambit. I think before they really dig into their plans for what Phase 4 and beyond for Marvel is, they want to see what rights they can get back.
Right, and then what you think we might start seeing some in-house TV shows streamed and stuff like that, yeah.
And even they all the super famous Marvel villains are actually not with Marvel right now. It's with Fox and Sony, like Galactus, Doom. What's gonna be the big bad of the next phase, right? I think that's why they're shopping around, see if they can get.
So phase 4
they made a deal for Skrulls.
Yeah, I mean, well, Phase 4 we're pretty certain is Secret Invasion with Skrulls.
Yeah.
So that's fine, but yeah, beyond that, and you need to start planning now. So yeah, I mean, they need to think beyond sort of 2023, 24, 25,
definitely.
what's coming. Yeah, I mean, there's too much money at stake.
I just want a
speaking of
good
which,
Doom.
we've got Deadpool, the new teaser trailer for that coming out, so within the Marvel Universe. Did you guys catch that with the Bob Ross?
Yeah,
How good was that?
That was
it
great.
was very good.
So good. So good. A lot of people, like a lot of the news sites have stop motioned all those sort of scenes, you know, and analysed it a bit, and nothing too much revealed, I don't think, other than we may have a new Pyro-style character. We saw Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She looks like the
In a even better costume.
yeah,
and
she's
more
looking
classic.
good though. She looks like she's lost a little weight, and she looks really good. She got hair now, which is nice. So
And of course, the most exciting bit is Dopinda's back.
yeah, no Cable at all in that trailer though. Like apart
No,
from
it
the artwork
wasn't.
at the
His
end.
hand is at the end.
Oh yeah, his hand was right at the end. That's right,
Right,
grabbing
yes,
some
yes,
stuff on
yes,
the desk,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
with the metal, yeah. Which is
They'll be
interesting
keeping that for the proper trailer, no
well,
doubt.
he looks more cybernetic than Living Metal, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, how do you explain Living Metal to an audience that doesn't know what it's all about? Like, I guess that kind of makes sense.
They did it fine in Terminator. It's all right.
And Deadpool doesn't take itself seriously, so they can
No.
say what the hell they want.
Yeah,
And I'm glad
I
to
mean,
see that they're continuing to do the sort of comedy marketing for the movie as well, and not just
Yeah.
going straight forward marketing like most films.
No, it
Yeah.
definitely it
It's
paid
fun.
dividends for them. The first movie, I can only imagine they'll ramp it up higher. Like they actually had those Valentine's Day billboards, like for real. I thought that was fantastic.
Yes, I enjoy the marketing for the first film almost as much as the movie, and that's
Yeah.
crazy when you
Marvel
think
have
about
done
it.
some great stuff. Did you see the some of the marketing for Ant-Man, where even in Brisbane,
Oh, yeah.
where we are,
Yeah.
there was the tiny
Yep.
little billboards. They were like
Yep.
2 inches high, scattered around the city.
Deadpool was Sony though.
I hope they
But
do it
yeah.
I
again
know,
with,
but it was so good. Like just that sort of, I appreciate good marketing, and
Yeah.
like Deadpool 1 had some great stuff. So I mean, hopefully we see more of it with this one. So I mean, we keep going backwards and forwards, Marvel and DC here. This is a little different, but what's happening in Flashpoint?
So apparently, the main Flashpoint story pretty much involves every single major DC player. So Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. We're still unsure who will appear in the movie. There's been rumors that Wonder Woman will, but they've also said that Batman's story will be a main part of Flashpoint as well, which is pretty expected, and it's a huge part of the story, and could also be a way to introduce Jake Gyllenhaal as Batman rather than Ben Affleck.
I was actually just joking that they might as well call this the Flashpoint movie. They might as well give it the subtitle "The Way to Get Ben Affleck Out."
Well, because it's set in a different. It's a different Flash and everything as well, isn't it? Like the actor.
That's it.
So
Is this
Flashpoint,
same
he
Flashpoint?
runs backward in time
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he shattered the timeline.
Yeah, and changes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember that. But okay, cool. Yeah, all right. I just wasn't sure if we had the same actor though, because
Oh, it's
none of these
actor.
universes are connected.
No, so it's definitely the same act.
Right. Okay. Cool. What's happening? You got something happening with Tarantino, I believe, too.
Yeah, he just got, I think it was Sony picked up the rights to his new film, which is pretty much based in 1969. Everyone thought it was going to be a movie about Charles Manson, although he keeps saying that no, it's just about everything that happens in sort of 1969, with Charles Manson being a big sort of person in the background of it all.
Okay.
It just got picked up by Sony, $100 million budget, has names like Leonardo DiCaprio, Samuel L. Jackson, and Margot Robbie currently attached to it.
Well, that's a switch. A Tarantino film with Samuel Jackson. I'd never would have.
Oh yeah, no, hell no. No
What
one
was the
would.
last
No one
thing he
would
did
go do
though?
that.
It's been a while since Tarantino actually did a film.
Wolf of Wall
himself.
Street.
No,
no,
Django
sorry, it was
Unchained.
Hateful Eight.
Oh,
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight, of course, yes.
Right. Okay. Sure. Bit of news really that's currently out there at the moment. We touched on this last fortnight. Was that the Lord of the Rings was getting kicked around as an idea for a TV series, and since then it appears that Amazon has greenlit 2 seasons, or I believe the news I got was more than 1 season or multiple seasons. So
Multi-season deal for $100+
Yeah.
million.
yeah, which that's pretty. That's sort of. That's going to be pushing into the Game of Thrones region of things. So
Oh yeah.
they're obviously
So this
serious
is-
about it.
Yeah, this is pretty clearly a way to cash in on Game of Thrones success, right?
Exactly, and this is a prequel, so this will be set before Lord of the Rings. I don't know if it's set before The Hobbit as well, or if it's set between the two.
From what I've heard, it's going to be untold stories in the universe.
Right. Okay.
That's gonna piss everyone off.
It's not going to be a direct readaptation of Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. It's just going to be...
Like, to be fair, Lin, it's going to piss off anybody who's read the book. Or books.
Yeah.
I think if you're just a cinema goer, you're probably going to not really be too upset about it. You know,
Fair, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, most of the time people take issue with film adaptations is because, you know, it doesn't stick to the book. So I guess we'll wait and see. Look, I mean, it's at this stage, it's still going to be probably at least 2 or 3 years before we see anything. It'll be at least 2 years before we get a trailer, and probably 3 before anything's on the screen. So, but okay, look, I mean, neat. And for some people, you know, any Lord of the Rings is good Lord of the Rings. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I squeeze in one news? Runaways is coming out next week. Everybody go watch it. I'm super excited. I'm a big Runaways fan.
All right then. Well, it's time to move into Justice League, and this is the part where I shut up. Yay, says everybody at last. And I'm going to hand over to Lucas, Lin, and Ethan. They're going to talk about Justice League. We're going to start with some sort of spoiler-free thoughts. And then after that, we'll go into spoilery stuff. There'll be some time codes in the description, much like we had last podcast. So I'll be back soon for Punisher. Take it away, boys.
What a surprise. Toby's going to be back to do the Punisher talking.
You shut up.
What a shock. So I guess I'll start. I mean, I was lucky enough to get tickets to the Brisbane premiere on Wednesday night, and it was packed. It was really good. Got a little pop vinyl and everything. It was sweet. But anyway, overall, I enjoyed the movie. For those who have read my review on the Pixel Pop website, I covered it, and I've kind of gone over some issues I've had with it, niggling issues. Big problem I feel was Steppenwolf. I feel it was really, really, really fucking lame. But no, like, seeing them all on screen together for the first time was awesome. We need the Cyborg movie, like, now. Like, that needs to happen. But yeah, overall I thought it was pretty good. Don't know what you guys thought, but...
I had problems with it. I wanted what Zack Snyder originally did for it, pretty much, because I've been reading a lot online about what Joss Whedon changed, and to me, I like the sound of Zack Snyder's one a lot better. And it's, I mean, I don't know, I'm torn on it. It wasn't horrible, but I didn't find it amazing like I had hoped.
See, Ethan, I think we're gonna have to differ there, because I also have problems with it, and I'm also wondering what Zack Snyder did and what Joss Whedon did. But in my mind, I wish it was a Joss Whedon movie.
I want it to be the Zack one. I straight up want it to be what Zack Snyder originally had. To me, Joss Whedon just butchered it, really.
I wish we both have we both get our wish and we get to see the two movie, because that would be really interesting. I think the CGI, everybody talked about it, it's a mess for this big budget movie. Overall, I think it's one of the better DC movie, and I just think that's not good enough for a movie with Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman in it. But overall, I think I enjoyed it a lot more than I have other DC movies. It's not as good as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I feel saying like it being on the better end of the DC extended universe isn't really a high bar when you think about it.
Yeah, that's
like the only thing up that end of the spectrum realistically is either Wonder Woman or, depending on your opinion, Man of Steel.
I mean, for me, I like Batman vs Superman more than Man of Steel and Wonder Woman, and to me, this is like below both of those. Or this is like just above Suicide Squad for me.
I
really,
think
like that bad?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, it was like it for me. Like from top to bottom, Batman vs Superman best, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and then Suicide Squad.
Let's start with some common grounds. We all agree this is better than Suicide Squad, right?
Oh yeah.
No, miles and away. Like I enjoyed Suicide Squad for what it was, but it wasn't a good Suicide Squad movie. Like it was a okay movie. Script had issues, but that's what happens when you write a script in 6 days. When Warner Brothers tell you write a script and get it to screen as soon as possible. I don't think it was anywhere near as bad as Suicide Squad.
No,
I
for one thing, it's a coherent movie.
Yeah.
More coherent.
It's coherent, but the pacing and like the logic steps, I guess, are what kind of drive me a bit crazy, because like
I feel like it needed 20 more minutes.
It did, and I feel like that's where the Joss Whedon, like, because I haven't read any of like the what's in the Joss Whedon cut, what's in the Zack Snyder cut, like
because you can't really, right? It's all rumors. Nobody really knows.
Well, like apparently there's reports out saying, so Joss Whedon cut this, and Zack Snyder had this in his movie, and Joss Whedon added this in his movie, and like, yeah. I know there are reports out there. I just haven't read them because I don't want to know. Like, I feel like if I had gone in being like, all right, cool, so this is what Zack Snyder's movie was meant to be, I'm gonna have, this bias because like, holy fuck, that sounds amazing, and then not getting it, I would have been really disappointed.
Yeah.
I still haven't read into those either. Like I know Ethan. I think Ethan has.
Yeah, I've been following all the changes for like months.
Yeah.
So have I, but I've kind of been taking some of them with a grain of salt. I'm just like, this kind of sounds like he said, she said. Yeah. Because like everybody always say the predictable thing, right? It's like, oh, Joss Whedon is making everything lighter, but he's also making everything quippier.
He did.
I think you and me are gonna go head to head on this, Ethan. But I think the quippier parts are the good parts of this.
No, to me, they all fell short to me. I didn't like any of them in the movie. Oh, there was one that I liked, but it's a bit spoilery. But all the rest of them, they just fell completely short to me. I only laughed once in the entire movie.
I don't think any of the quips are like laugh out loud quips. What I wanted, when I say I wanted 20 more minutes, and why I said I wish this was more of a Joss Whedon movie, because I wanted one more scene of the team outside of combat. Like, I think that would have. I feel like. Yeah, I feel like we need one more scene of the team just, even if they're discussing battle plans, even if they're at each other's throat, them just talking and like interacting with each other. Because I feel like some members of the league had like 3 lines to each other,
Yeah, I feel like that scene. I don't want to really get spoiler heavy into it, but there's a specific scene where Wonder Woman and Batman have an altercation.
It's the best scene.
Yeah, like that scene is excellent for a serious storytelling point of view, but at the same time, like, I would love to have seen more of that. With at least the 5 of them.
Or does anyone have one last thing to say about the non-spoiler things? I would say, what I would say is, like, if you're a comic book fan, you should go watch it. I don't think you're gonna absolutely hate it, but if you don't really care about comic books, I don't know, maybe wait until they come out on DVD.
So I guess the main non-spoiler thing I can say, and like I kind of already covered it when I did my initial run-in, is that, like, and something I didn't expand on, is that I'm not a Cyborg fan. I've never been a Cyborg fan. I've never really been a Teen Titans fan. Fuck me, Cyborg was fantastic in this movie. That alone, if you're like even like remotely interested in that character, this is enough reason to go and see it. Flash I thought was really good. Like, all the characters themselves, if you're a fan of each individual character, I feel this is definitely worth seeing to see their development into what becomes the Justice League. But yeah, no, great. I liked it for the most part, but again, issues which we'll cover in spoilers a bit later.
As a Cyborg fan, I actually didn't like Cyborg that much. I think he has potential.
Really? I never really liked him. And I'm not sure what it is about his backstory or his like character himself. Like, I'm not sure what it is that I just haven't liked about him, but he's not really been my cup of tea. But yeah, I thought he was really excellent in this, kind of playing that, and same with Aquaman, playing that kind of caught between two worlds You know, where like Cyborg is, you know, he's human, but he's also now part machine. Aquaman is Atlantean and all but he's been raised on land his whole life. You know, like they kind of play that duality of not knowing who they are and being a bit lost in that. And I thought that both of those characters were played really well in that respect.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I think my quibble is just because I grew up with the Teen Titan Cyborg. So in my head, Cyborg is a bit more lighthearted. He makes chili. He says "booyah" a lot, and understandably, this movie Cyborg is a point in his life where he's kind of down and out about it. But there are moments in which Cyborg's sense of humor come through, and I think those bits are excellent.
Yeah. Anyway, let's jump into the spoilers. Can we? It's the talk of the fucking town at the minute, but the mustache.
I know.
Holy
How
shit!
bad.
Holy fucking
I knew it
hell!
was coming, and from that first scene, I was like, "You've got to be fucking kidding me that they thought this was a good idea to do."
So I said this to Ethan off air before Lin kind of jumped on. Me and Ethan were talking about it, but like in that initial first scene, I didn't actually notice it. Like I wasn't looking for it because I thought it was like, all right, cool, this will be the start of the movie. This is how the movie was meant to start originally. This won't be part of the reshoots, and I wasn't really paying attention. I was just kind of like admiring what was going on without actually looking at his face.
Oh, really?
And then like. Yeah, and then it wasn't until like afterwards where I'm like, holy fuck, what happened to his face?
Almost every single scene that Superman was in, except for the fight scene where he fights them all, every other scene he was in was practically a reshoot.
Yeah.
Really? So I'm kind of sorry to jump in, but I'm actually surprised at that scene where they fight him at the statue is not a reshoot.
No, that's not a reshoot. That's been in there since the start. It's a slight different variation of what was originally supposed to be, but a lot of it's still there.
I think there are little moments in that scene where he is CGI. Like they probably added a little bit here and there, but yeah, I think it's mostly normal.
So what happened?
The "Do you bleed" line that was reshoot.
Yeah, no, that was.
And the entire third act of the movie was all reshot as well, from what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean that shows. What I wanted to say was I watched it in the new cinema, that new gold class cinema, and there was only like 16 people in there. And when the movie started, that Superman scene begun, the whole cinema actually went like audibly said, "What the fuck?" And people were just looking around at each other.
Really?
I think it was really obvious. But like maybe if you didn't know there was reshoots, but like there was people who saying out loud, "What the fuck is going on?"
Wow, that's bad.
Yeah.
Something I should probably cover a little bit later, but like I'll try to do it now. So when we went to the premiere, it was hosted by Nova, like the radio station, and when the movie finished and like the credits started rolling, we were about 3 rows from the back, and like there was people behind us on the right hand side that tried to get a clap going, being like, "Yeah, that was awesome." No one in the cinema clapped except for like 5 people. So a major one. So going off to what I said at the start as well. So like a major issue I had was with Steppenwolf.
He's terrible.
He is very like cut copy Ultron to me.
And even
where he's just kind of his motivation. But like I guess like his motivation is that, you know, I'm going to come in and take over the world and like prepare it for Darkseid. Like there's one step between him and Ultron in my opinion, and that's Ultron was doing it for himself, where Steppenwolf was doing it for someone else. And because he's doing it for someone else, that just, to me, it was like it was lamer than what Ultron was doing.
Either way, he was just a bad villain. Like he didn't have any motivation. He barely had any lines that wasn't sneering. I don't see any reason why he needed to be a massive CGI monster.
And CGI was shit. Doomsday looked better than him.
Yeah. Oh god.
I think the facial capture looks great, but his character model looked awful.
His character model was on par with Ultron in his final form at the end of Age of Ultron, because they look like fucking ass as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ultron didn't look great.
But Ultron got away with it a little bit because he's a robot.
Yeah, he's meant to be a robot, where like Steppenwolf's meant to be this like old god.
Personally, I don't think to be a fucking robot. That's for sure.
But yeah, no, I agree.
And
and I think we should slightly touch upon the mustache thing. What we're talking about is apparently for reshoots, Henry Cavill, the guy who plays Superman, had to grow out a mustache for his next movie, and it was in his contract, and he wasn't allowed to shave it off for the reshoots. So instead of working out some sort of a deal involving a fake mustache, which is super easy, they decided to CGI his mustache away, meaning they had to CGI all of his lower half of his face for all the reshoots, resulting in this monstrosity.
Yeah, it's not a good time. It is so not a good time.
I don't understand with DC having such a bad rep that they would, put something out like this. I mean, sure they had success with Wonder Woman, but surely they can't think they can just ride on that for fucking ever.
Yeah, and they didn't rush this movie. They took forever. So I don't know what happened.
$300 million budget. I mean, Jesus.
And we're saying some of these scenes when we say it's terrible, because the internet was telling me the CGI was terrible, right? I'm like, can't be that bad. It was worse than I expected. Some of the shots are like Scorpion King level terrible.
And some of the conversations.
Yeah, no, worse than Scorpion King.
The reshoots as well. Some of the scenes and conversations just don't flow well, especially the one with Bruce Wayne and Aquaman. You can tell his reshoots, and then that conversation doesn't flow at all.
And Aquaman's tattoos move as well.
Yep.
And there's another one as well where Batman's talking to Flash, where he has the whole I need friends line, and then there's I'm assuming there was a whole other conversation that they had, and then they end up coming in and cutting in a comedy bit.
Yep.
And then it goes back to because he's I'm putting a team together, and Batman's super serious, and then he's oh yep, I'm in, I need friends, da da da. And then all of a sudden it goes into a 2-minute comedy bit, and then it cuts back to Batman being serious again, where he's not joking around and making jokes, he's just deadpan serious. And I'm that's painfully obvious that Joss Whedon's come in to put that in.
Yeah, but that's I think I'm gonna be fair. I think if Zack Snyder made the entire movie, I think it would have been better. I think if Joss Whedon made the entire movie, it would have been better. I think splashing these two directors with very distinct different styles together is the biggest mistake.
Yeah, agreed. And as well, you gotta also factor in studio interference.
Yes. And the studio interference is clear in that 2 hours runtime. This is not a movie that should have been done in 2 hours. There is 3 new characters to introduce, and 1 villain to introduce, and a team movie with 6 main characters.
Yeah,
why 2 hours?
I feel like they didn't learn from the mistakes of Batman versus Superman, because
they learned the bad lessons as well.
Well, I just feel like they didn't learn any lesson. Batman vs Superman was originally planned to be a 3-hour movie, and arguably I think the 3-hour cut is far superior to what they put out in the cinemas. So I feel like they would have learnt their lesson from being oh shit, alright, let's just let Zack do what he does and direct and make a movie.
Yeah, shit or get off the pot, right? Fire him or let him do his thing.
Yeah, and then it's almost like they kind of got scared of Zack being all right, cool, so now this isn't going to be a 3-hour movie, this is going to be a 2.5-hour movie, and they're we need it under 2. It's having it under 2 is just, it doesn't do the correct service it needs to do to the characters that are involved, and the movie suffers, and that's exactly what happened. Factoring in a whole lot of other things like Joss Whedon coming in, and not saying Joss Whedon's additions are bad. I feel like
disagree.
I feel like they should have put someone who's very similar to Zack.
I agree.
It's kind of making a movie that's a Ridley Scott movie and then putting on someone like Jordan Peele to come in and do the reshoots. That's what I mean. It's very, like Lin was saying, it's 2 very distinct, different styles.
Yeah.
Trying to merge them into one film, and it painfully shows, and that's what sucks.
The best part of these movies is when they have weight to it, because there's some history to it. Lucas, you said about the argument between Wonder Woman and Batman, and I think what's so good about that is because Batman was talking about her history, and something we've seen in Wonder Woman the movie, and it referenced the 100 years that's been since that movie, and it's good because we feel it, right? We've seen that happen, and
well, not only that, but like he brings up the whole thing about her letting Steve die, and it's like holy shit, like he's just brought out the big guns, like that's a moment that was earned because they built it.
Because my mother always said to, if you haven't got anything positive to say, don't say anything at all. So I think in summary for Justice League, we can say that Stranger Things Season 2 was really good.
I think we can say that Stranger Things...
Isn't that the best summary? Isn't that the best summary for this movie?
8 out of 9 episodes of Stranger Things were good.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
and Justice League was the one that wasn't good.
I mean, there are good points to the movie. It has its good and its bad. It's easy to focus on the criticisms a lot of the time because it's like you just have a reason to bitch about something. There's some things that the movie does right, but it's not enough to outweigh what was done wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
definitely a wait for a Blu-ray release for me. This is something. Having listening, Scorpion King CGI does not inspire me to want to go and see this at the cinema. So I'll wait for the home release. Thanks, Lin. That was perfect. In fact, that really could be the perfect summary, like to the whole review. Scorpion King CGI, like that just does it for me. I also think there's going to be one scene that Lin and Ethan are going to agree with me on. But that scene where like Superman comes in and pummels fucking Steppenwolf. Like, that literally looked like a scene from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of how it was animated. Superman was Goku trying to take down Frieza. Like, that's what it looked like. The action set pieces are fantastic. I actually think that the best set piece of the whole film is the fight scene between Superman and the Justice League. Like, that was fantastic.
I agree with
especially that. And the only reason I thought that scene was great is because even though it was a serious moment where we didn't know if Clark was all there or not, and then Cyborg's like defense mechanism starts to kick in and he's sensing a threat. I can't change it. Like, I busted up laughing during that because I'm like, that's totally what he would fucking do. He doesn't know how to control his abilities. And he's arming up, and then Superman's seeing the threat, and then that's what causes them to fight. I thought that was very well. Great. I thought that whole scene was very well thought out. One of the few scenes in the movie that logically made sense for each individual character.
Yeah. But I think the last action scene is not good.
Alright.
It's fine.
You're out of time. That's it. You get nothing. Done.
Yep.
No more love. We have more important things to talk about.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh my god.
We'll say goodbye to Ethan, and we'll catch him next podcast in a fortnight. So bye, Ethan.
Bye.
Bye. And now we're going to talk about The Punisher. Alright, so let's start with some spoiler-free thoughts. I'll go last, because, you already know what I think.
You go first. I think it's nice to start with positivity.
I might surprise you. Okay. So I think, look, the easiest way to do these things is compare it to all the other Netflix shows. I would probably put this up there next to Daredevil Season 2. I don't think it's a huge step forward from Daredevil Season 2. I love Daredevil Season 2 because one of the biggest complaints with Netflix series is, the 13 episodes is too long and that you really could be telling the story in 6 episodes. And I think in Daredevil Season 2, it just felt like 2 seasons back to back with the Punisher storyline and then the Elektra storyline. And it just was non-stop, and it was really good. So for that reason, I still think probably Daredevil Season 2 is just slightly my favorite, but behind that I would definitely put Punisher. And I think where we had, say, Torchwood to Doctor Who, which was the adult version of Doctor Who, I would have liked to have seen Netflix really push that harder even further. Certainly it was violent, and certainly there was swearing. No, if you think about it, you probably didn't pick up on it subconsciously, but if you watch it again, there's almost no swearing in this TV show.
Yeah, but there's so much blood.
Next to no swearing.
The point is, the Punisher is balls to the wall in terms of, and this is... a lot of people would say, well, canon Punisher, not necessarily. This is clearly inspired by Max. In the fact that it was just deliberately removed from the Defenders and all supers. There's not a single super. Now, this is absolutely the Max universe. And I just would have liked to have seen, and you can call me a bad person, but I would have liked to have heard more swearing, I would have liked to have seen more alcohol, and I wanted to see more bums, boobs, and willies. That is what Max Punisher was, and I feel that's where they were going, and I felt that it was so close, but I think it was MA here in Australia. I just would have loved to have seen a much harder R, and I think it would have taken this series from an A to an A+, for me at least.
Visually, this series is my favorite, like hands down. Punisher there's no understating it. Punisher had to be violent. He is a violent character. His backstory is rooted in violence. Everything about that character and about just that entire series reeks of violence. And with how Daredevil and Iron Fist and all of that have been handled within their universes, they've been handled fairly well in terms of, like, Luke Cage has always been kind of about the streets, and Daredevil's been more about, that kind of thematic, links to Catholicism and also to, basically having a blind guy fight. It's been good. Like, it hasn't been great, but it hasn't been terrible. Punisher hit all the marks. Like, it looks phenomenal. From the matter of, just blood hitting windows and, to the violence, to the themes of, PTSD and dealing with soldiers who come home that...
It's very psychological.
It's
very psychological.
And, like, I was actually expecting it to be on par with how Jessica Jones handled its very, very mature content of, rape and sexual assault and all that. Like, it deals very heavy-handedly in that. I was expecting it to be heavy as a series. I didn't expect it to be as heavy as it was. Specifically, I know Lin fucking hated it or wasn't a fan, but the Lewis storyline was excellent. I thought that was handled so well because without this will be a spoiler thing I'm going to talk about later because I feel how they handled it was phenomenal, but Lewis's storyline and how they deal with PTSD to the points where, like, he's digging the trench in his backyard because he can't sleep on his bed. Like, there are just so many things that happen with that character that, you can really empathize with because those things happen. We hear about stories, and all that. Yeah. Frank also gets these same, visions in his head as well. Like, just the whole show visually was amazing. I can't, like, I could just talk on and on, but to me, this is miles ahead of everything that Netflix has done so far. This absolutely topples everything. Like, this takes number one with no contender in sight for second, in my opinion.
Wow. Okay.
So I guess my spoiler-free turn. I liked it. I think it's really good. It's top 3 for me. I think we all had. I think this is a great thing about Marvel shows and especially Netflix TV show. We all have different favorites, right? My top is still Jessica Jones. I really like Jessica Jones. I like the first half of Luke Cage, and I think this is after the first half of Luke Cage. Yeah, I think it's really good. I had some problems with it. I still think it have that Netflix curse of, like, this could have been 9 episodes. There are some episodes towards the end I was like, ugh, I need to get through this episode so I can resolve the other plot threads that I'm really interested in. And just to be clear, I don't hate the Lewis storyline. I recognize that it's really well written and it's really good. I just hate Lewis, and I just wish that storyline wasn't. I just wish that storyline wasn't in this, because it feels like such a detour. This is my thing.
I have to agree. I mean, as much as I did enjoy that story arc, I felt if you had stripped it away, you could probably have dumped 2 or 3 episodes, and just shorten the whole thing up. It felt a little unnecessary to the bigger story.
And this is also my issues with narrative. We can't have
spoilers, but I mean, it's clear that storyline has concluded. So it's not something that's going to sort of continue later. It's not like Stranger Things 2 with episode 7 or whatever it is, like, where it alludes to bigger things. That storyline doesn't. So it kind of feels a little unnecessary.
Other than that, I think it's really good. Everybody should watch it, like, immediately, as far as recommendations go. But like I said, I still like, I think the thing I like about Jessica Jones better that this doesn't do is I feel like Jessica Jones focused on this villain from episode 1, and it's that one villain, and they characterize it until episode 13. No other Netflix show hasn't done it. The Punisher show take a slightly different approach to it, other than that very bad habit Netflix shows have of doing one villain for half the episodes and introducing a new villain for the other half, but I still don't like their approach. Overall, it's really good. It would have been a better 9-episode series, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, so let's bookmark there, and that way I just warn everybody and say, hey, look, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. But we'll crack into some spoilers now, because obviously Lucas has got things to say. Before we sort of rip that apart in each other, though, I just wanted to retouch on the whole concept of the psychology, which is something I really liked about this series. Others have dabbled with it, but this show really, I mean, you have a scene where everybody is celebrating and laughing, and Frank is screaming. Like, this is a man who has some very serious problems and is going insane. I mean, let's not make any, let's not be coy. He is a psychopath, plain and simple. We can empathize with him, or some of us can. I certainly can. But the man is a psychopath, and he's going insane, and that's very much reminiscent from the comics, and I'm glad that it's something they've never touched on to any degree in the previous films, and I'm so glad they did in this, because it gives the character, again, you can't, no, I was going to say it gives him justification, but there shouldn't be any justification, of course. It gives him, in his mind, justification for his actions, which is something that we've never seen on film before, and it is such a big part of the comics.
Yeah, there's one particular scene that, like, I don't want it to sound how this is going to sound, but there are parts of this show that played very much like a horror movie, because you're getting in the headspace with Frank. There's one particular scene that's gonna fucking stick with me, and that's the scene where it's his family and Micro's family at the dinner table doing Thanksgiving, yeah. And then those soldiers come in, and then he's trying to reason with the soldiers to not kill them, and he's going like, he's going fucking nuts, and like, it's that whole thing of like, please don't do it, please don't kill my family.
Clearly, oh my god, I can see why they delayed it. I mean, gun control plays such a huge issue in this series. Like, and a few times there, I'm thinking, both sides would take to this rather. I mean, here in Australia, I think we could probably enjoy it a little better because, we're blessed in that we don't have these sort of issues one way or the other to the same degree. For those in America, though, I mean, this show is clearly going to hit a bit of a sore point where you've got both sides saying, hey, we have to take away all the guns, and then you've got other characters going, we need more guns, and like, it's not the fact that it's Frank killing people that would have triggered people. I think it's the whole topic of gun control that comes up in it that would have upset people.
And when that conversation happens between the politician and Karen, like, as soon as that happened, I'm like, that's why they fucking pulled it. Like, it wasn't that it was violent, it's that it's very heavy-handed, like, in saying, we need to put,
because then the room blows up and he grabs a gun, which is sort of saying, and the way even Karen is approaching the subject, it's almost very much pro-gun. At least that's how I interpret it.
Oh yeah, it's kind of comically pro-gun.
Yeah, and of course, look. I think the takeaway here is, and there's obviously people who are listening to this with their opinion now. I think you need to be careful in that the takeaway from this is a Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is not Earth. Nobody can take the kind of punishment that the Punisher takes. I mean, in a sense, that is his super. Frank has an enormously high pain threshold. What happens in these shows is a show, and so gun control in the MCU shouldn't be necessarily a one-for-one with gun control. I feel, and I hate getting into these sort of political conversations, but I don't think you should use the conversation in that show as any form of a point for a real-world conversation.
It's not very realistic to what is happening.
You shouldn't point to the Punisher and go, "This is why we need gun control," because it's a fictional character.
And it's a world where people can shoot rays out of their hands.
Exactly.
So it's hard to argue against people who are like, I kind of feel like I need a gun.
Yes. So, I mean, I think the topic of gun control in the real world shouldn't be brought into this conversation, obviously, and it shouldn't be brought into any conversation of the party. Certainly, it might be an instigator for a conversation, but it certainly shouldn't be used as a reference piece, I don't think. But clearly, this is why they delayed the show, I feel, not for any other reason.
I do have one thing to say, though. About the whole political stance the show takes. I feel like part of it is so comically trying to do that, like, but both sides have valid things. Both sides have equal things in like a South Park way.
Yeah. I wrote an article for Pixel Pop quite a while ago that sort of talked about the origins of Punisher, which is a canon story that is based in Max, and it's obviously changed to a degree in this series where we have the scene where they're escaping and we have his senior officer lose his arm and whatever have you. Like, clearly that's a modern sort of reinterpretation of that scene where Frank Castle becomes the Punisher, and I won't lie, I was hoping, because of the psychology, I was hoping we would get that conversation where perhaps he starts talking to himself in his mind or what have you, that it takes place in the comics, but we didn't, which was a little disappointing. But I feel too that you don't know that didn't happen, you just didn't hear it. You know, as he's caving the man's head in with the rock, so to speak. Are you familiar with the scene I'm talking about in the comics?
Yeah.
I'll give you the quick rundown. It reads, "You've been hit 3 times now. 4. This is the voice inside of Frank's head. You'll burn out the barrel of that rifle any second. I can help you, but you have to say the word. You know you want to. 3 tours in Nam, Frank, seeking without realizing, into the nightmare again and again. What was it that kept you coming back? I can give it to you, Frank. There'll be a price, but nothing's free. Say no, and you're one more KIA on a hill that no one cared about to start with. Say yes, and I'll give you what you wanted all these years. But you have to say it. Say it. Say it. A war that lasts forever. A war that never ends. But you have to say the word, Frank." And then he says yes. And then he kills everybody and goes home. And the final panel is that sort of him hugging his family, but it's inside of the Punisher's skull. The point being is there's a time when he's at war and for one reason or another he becomes the Punisher. That is the point. And I do feel that point there, certainly he's a violent man who was already slipping, probably through the assassination work that he's been doing. Subconsciously he knows this is wrong. That was the snapping point, though. That was where Frank becomes the Punisher, I feel. Did you feel that at all when you he gets the face covered in blood and he shoots his way out, and like that's really the first time you see the Punisher.
Like,
yeah,
it's the first time he fight like a vigilante and not like a soldier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's sort of really the beginning, and it's just a case of he brings that back with him. You know, it was never going away. And as I said, I loved the psychology of the show. I think it was a fantastic element, and it allowed me to empathize with the character in a way that I've not empathized to the same degree with any of the other Netflix characters. And I've spoken to Lucas about this before, where I feel they sort of try and force your hand with the empathy by sort of even in the comic books with Superman, but they have these real world human problems, and it's like, Daredevil's like, I can't possibly do this, I'm a piece of shit, and my life is terrible, and everyone does all these sort of, I don't want to say emo moments because that could be taken in an offensive manner, and I don't mean that, but you know what I'm trying to imply. Like, they have these self-pitying moments where they and that will appeal to some people, and some people will have empathy with that, and that's why you may enjoy Jessica Jones, obviously because of the story and everything else, but you might feel a stronger empathy with that character because you can relate, and that will obviously draw you into that story. And it's the same with any other movie or book. If we can empathize with the lead character, then we're drawn into that world. For me, I watch shows like Jessica Jones, and my response to her is, well, knock your shit off, pull your socks up, and get on with it. and that's why, for me, I can empathize with Frank Castle because
That might be a little bit harsh for Jessica Jones.
Yeah, it is, but that again, like Frank is the one character who doesn't have those moments. He never has any self-pity. His attitude is he uses that. It's a tool. He
I
makes
get your
himself
point.
angry, and he uses that anger as a weapon. And like, just from my own personality, and obviously there's a lot of people that will watch Punisher and that it will repulse them. They will not feel any empathy. And even John Bernthal has said himself, there's a lot of people who are not going to like my character. And I can understand why. But for me, I think the reason I enjoyed this so much is I can empathize with this character certainly a lot more than my name is Danny Rand, I'm the immortal, I fist my parents died in a plane crash, I am the immortal Kai, confessed to Kung Lu, and I killed a dragon, repeat.
I think
Lucas loves that line.
It's the best line ever.
I think
you know
you
what,
can.
you know what makes me like that line even more is when Toby says it like every podcast, but like says it like 18 times in a row, and I'm like,
I'm
okay,
Danny
that's
Rand,
enough.
My fist, my parents died in a plane crash. Yeah.
So going
Did
back
you
on,
get excited?
going back onto
Come
that
on,
whole.
all right, the final scene. You saw the mirrors. You got hard, right? You knew what was coming. You knew what was coming.
I was about to bring this up.
Yeah.
Going back to the whole thing of like, John Barenthal saying, there are scenes, there are things that happen in the show that are going to repulse almost everyone. I am a horror movie nut. Saw movies are like my bread and butter. I was fucking mortified at that mirror scene. Like, that was tough for me to watch. Yeah. And like, I can almost sit through anything.
And she grabbed my hand. We've watched every horror film ever. She watched that scene and she grabbed my hand because it was like, we were both like, holy shit, as he's grinding his face down the fucking road.
Yeah, and that fucking let out from Ben Barnes of that scream, like that just like it put like the hairs on the back of my neck just stood up.
I mean, as much as him pushing the old mate's eyeballs in and everything was shocking, this thing was just next tier. But the thing is, you and I, we knew it was coming because Jigsaw, right?
Yeah. Like I'm not gonna lie, I kind of thought there was going to be like
through the window
in a lot of the previous incarnations of Jigsaw. There's been like an accident, like it's never really been caused by like it's been inadvertently caused by Frank. It's just been something that's been a series of unfortunate events that have led to, Billy Russo getting so deformed that he ends up taking it up against Frank Castle and the Punisher. Though this was a calculated attack
and
to disfigure the pretty boy.
Absolutely.
And like. And not only that, but like, it's not like he did it and it was an accident. He did it and he fucking enjoyed it. Like, that's kind of where that repulsion comes in of like this is a sick man.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you're just like.
So you were like me then. You got a bit chubby. Cool.
Yeah, no, I did. Like, no, but it's like.
He didn't kill him, right? He didn't kill him because he wanted him to suffer.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and then as well, like he's like, like Billy says that line of dying's the easy way or something like that. And he's like, you're gonna fucking eat your words. Yeah. Man, that final scene. I initially wasn't sure what was gonna happen because like I had a feeling it was gonna be the mirrors, but then he got shot through the face, and I'm like, oh okay, he's gonna get like his face shot to shit or something, and that's gonna be what causes it. And then Frank gets pushed up into the mirror and it breaks. And I'm like, holy fuck!
Yeah,
this is what's happening. Like I was watching it with Brandy, and like even Brandy was like sitting there. She doesn't do gore or anything like that.
No, it's very intense.
Even she was just like, holy shit! Oh, I had my hand over my mouth, just screaming, holy fuck! Like at the top of my lungs as it was happening. Like,
On the topic of Billy, though, can we discuss Billy? Like, can we discuss the villain?
Yeah. Like, I to be honest, I'm surprised at the amount of villains that were in this show. Like, obviously Rawlins is a fairly big character in the comics.
Yep.
Billy Russo, Jigsaw, obviously a massive Punisher villain. Lewis, who isn't in the comic books, but he's just kind of there to obviously.
Yeah,
he's
I
more used as a plot.
I was watching him for a while, thinking, "Who are you?" Like, I'm looking through the Marvel wiki, trying to think who he might be. And apparently he's an original character.
I figured he was going to be I figured he was going to be a substitute for someone, and then it was going to be a reveal later on, and then he fucking blows himself up in the freezer. Like that was fucking gnarly. I was expecting Curtis's turn. Which I feel like might be coming next season now, because Curtis is a bad guy as well.
On the topic of Billy, though, I liked Billy's characterization, and I suspected he was going to turn. I even called it to Kiki that I think he was going to turn because I forgot Jigsaw's real name, so I didn't realize he was Jigsaw until he turned.
Yeah, no, see, I went in knowing he was Jigsaw, so.
Yeah, I knew Jigsaw was in it, so but I wasn't like because I binged the whole thing. I don't really have a break to like digest and think about it.
Yeah.
So until he turned, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's probably Jigsaw, considering Jigsaw hasn't showed up yet. But what I didn't like is he was much more interesting as a guy who just is bad, who just like kind of fell into it, right? He just started making little micro decisions, justifying his actions until he was bad. But in the when they started implying that he's kind of a sociopath, that kind of lost me. Sociopathy is like such a character deus ex machina for villains, and it really bothers me.
Yeah. Which is great why we've got Frank, because he's not a sociopath, he's a psychopath.
Yes.
That's great. I love that. Micro, I mean, not fat balding guy, but I thought he was played well, and I
love Micro.
I empathise with
Micro is probably the best part of the whole show, in my opinion.
I agree.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, I think John Bernthal's acting was like absolute tier 1. This is going to look great in his CV. This is going to open up a lot more opportunities for him. I was very impressed with his performance. And I'm glad he fought. I feel now, as much as Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, like John Bernthal is Punisher. Like he was made for that part.
Yep.
Like he looks it, he played it, I felt it. I never once felt that he wasn't Punisher. Like he nailed it, absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure the man literally bled for that role, and it shows.
And the moments between Micro and Punisher that are a little bit slow, a little bit of character moments, they're hilarious. My favorite is when Micro pulls out that massive sandwich.
Yes, yes,
like,
yes.
Did you make me one?
Yes.
And he's just like seething and driving the car angry, and Micro is just ripping into this.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of humor, but what there was good. Yeah.
That conversation they had about sex was really funny too.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he's got his pants down and whatever have you. Yeah. There was some great moments. There was. But of course, they don't last. Now that's the story of Frank's life. You know, he has these tiny flashes of laughter and love, only to be ripped away again, over and over again.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, no, I thought the micro was a very, even though he had to be in there, like I felt that addition.
Yeah, I mean, if
was
anybody's
was fantastic.
It was books is going to be obviously a little upset because of that character more than any other. I felt was a departure from the comic book version.
Yes,
but I thought it was well done. Like I have no complaints. My wife felt that she said going in, because she'd started without me and then we caught up. She said, "Oh, there's this character you're not gonna like." Because she knows sort of, again, like I don't have any empathy really with Jessica Jones, and she felt that I might not empathize with her. I actually did. I thought I don't know the actress's name, but she played the part really well. I
like Medina as well.
Yeah, I can't say I didn't quite click with her in terms of empathy, but in terms of the other female sort of authority, like police officers we've had in other shows, like even Misty, I connected a lot more with Medina in this than I have previously.
I like Misty better, but I also...
I'm gonna like Misty more when she becomes, you know, gets her arm. I think I felt as a cop she overstepped her bounds far too often, and that just
but Medina didn't.
She sort of did, but she at the same time it was within. I don't know. It just felt like it was a bit more inside of the boundaries, I guess. Whereas, like, the thing is, like, Misty really, like, she gets angry and just breaks the rules. And that's why she's going to do better as a vigilante than a cop. Whereas I think Medina will do better as a cop.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So, I didn't actually mind the character, and it was, and her mother, I can't remember her name, too, the famous Indian actress, was great to see her back again. She's got that lovely gravelly voice. She's in The Expanse as well. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's a fantastic actress. It was good to see her in this. There was a few sort of really good performances. that I enjoyed. I think overall the acting was pretty good. So stories were pretty good. I could waffle on forever, but I mean,
I like budget Seth Rogen, Sam Stein.
Sam, I actually we thought he was another dirty cop sent to spy on her.
I think you're supposed to think that.
Yeah, because like initially it's kind of not really told why he goes down, and then like by like episode 3, I'm like, no, I don't. I think he's clean, and I think he was sent down because he was calling out dirty cops.
Right.
I feel like that's why he was.
I definitely sort of welled up a little bit when he died. Like that death scene was pretty intense. You know, like that hit a nail for sure.
And I just sat there hoping he get the words out, like he get to say
and say Billy. I was hoping, dude. I was like, just fucking say Billy.
I know he was trying. Right? He was
name.
Clearly trying.
Yeah.
He got his throat cut.
The other scene that really hit home for me, and I mean, I never served in the armed forces. I'm not a soldier at all, but I did security for a lot of years, and I know the feeling of standing back to back with another man and literally fighting for your life. Like I've been in that situation, and it changes things, and it changes the way you feel towards that person. And the scene where he's speaking with Billy at the end, and he says, you know, you've got to do it. You've got to be the one to kill me. It's got to be clean. Like, man, that just hit a chord. I'm just tearing up now thinking about it. Like,
he was lying though.
Yeah, was he?
Yeah, I mean, he was setting it up.
Do you really think? I mean, the thing is, as one soldier to another, like, I think in that scene where there's the shit that they've been through, despite everything Billy had done with him, I think if Frank was genuinely felt he was going to die, and certainly the delusions or the dreams that he's having at that moment leads me to believe that he thinks he thought he was.
I think 100%.
To then say to his brother, like, it has to be you, it's got to be clean, like, man, that resonated with me something fierce. Like, that just... And I think anybody who's served, who's actually, like, been in that situation, you know, could empathize with that scene enormously, where it's like, you know, it's got to be you, it's got to be clean. Like, man, yeah, that was a really emotional moment for me.
See, to me, I took it another way. I agree with you, Toby, that if it is kind of like his contingency plan, like if he has to die, I completely agree that he really want Billy to take him out instead of this. He doesn't want to go to, like, be, you know, another one of Rawlings' torture bonus.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I feel like that makes him more of a, like, that make the Punisher more of the guy who's more intent on the mission. I feel like he was manipulating Billy. Like he was manipulating the last good aspect of Billy to set his trap, which is to drive that wedge between them, just so he could. I think there's a lot.
I think there's a lot in Punisher. I mean, the mistake you can make watching the show is that it's you know, what you see is what you get. I mean, obviously there's a lot of psychology, and I think if you watched it again, you would see. I think there's a lot going on that we isn't explicitly put in front of us. You know, I think
open to interpretation.
Yeah, I think even at the end, Frank still loves Billy as a brother. Like, despite everything he's done to him, betrayed him, let his family die, and all the rest of it. Yes, you know, he says he's going to kill him and all the rest of it. And part of why he keeps... I mean, Frank's a psychopath. No delusions there. Certainly, part of the reason why he keeps him alive is so that he can endure that pain. But I also wonder if a part of it is not because he still has that brother-like love. You know, is that why he's... Because you think, even in the comics, like, the Punisher even says... You know, there's dead people, and then there's people he hasn't killed yet. And in the comics, he even kills Micro. You know, he kills everybody. So for him to not kill someone, I think deserves a deeper look beyond just simple, well, I want you to suffer. So
I think that is...
Like, I look forward to going back through this series again and really focusing on the psychology, because I think there's a lot of... Like a Warner Brothers cartoon, I think there's more going on in a lot of these scenes than you sort of get at your first pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I think that final scene will also be different depending on how they take it in season 2.
Yes. Anyway, we could yak forever, but we're getting a little late in this podcast, so we should probably think about wrapping it up. So, in summary, wait for the home release of Justice League and go watch Punisher now.
Pretty much.
And Stranger Things.
The home releases now.
Yeah. All right. So it's tradition for us to sing our way out, and I think it's Lin's turn, right?
Yep, no, Lynn's turn to sing the way out.
What?
Ready, Lynn? Yep. Dun, 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 dun,
Ready?
dun.
3, 2, 1.
Dun, 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 dun.